Hello, I'm out in my garden today and things are looking great for being close to the end of September. Things are starting to get ripe and I'm just going to go ahead and show you what it looks like. First thing is this sweet potato plant looks like it's starting to die out. I'm not surprised, it's starting to get cold at nights and the leaves are starting to turn a little bit yellow. I'm actually going to take a little bit of time today and make a second video where I reroot this sweet potato plant. I'm going to take a cutting off of this one, probably about right here, and a cutting from this one, probably just close to further back, and another cutting over here, and I'm going to try rooting them so I can perpetuate this plant into next year and keep it going. It'll become an indoor plant, but that'll be a pretty fun activity to try. My wife has been really good at keeping the rosemary cut back, and we have lots of rosemary because we have lots of these bushes, but this one, it's starting to get one that's ready to cut. We're planning on pulling these ones and replanting them into smaller pots so we can have some fresh rosemary next year. We haven't done that well of wintering it over the winter in the garden, which is okay. It allows us to move it around a little bit. As you can see, the tomato plants are fully loaded all the way down through there, and then I'll go on the back side of some other ones. This cabbage is actually starting to do pretty good now that it's cooling off. We're gonna see if we can actually get a head of cabbage out of it. This broccoli, it's ready to be trimmed. It's not as full as most broccoli as you see, but we did pull a lot of the broccoli out. The beans just did not do so well this year, and I think most of it has to do with shade and the fact that they were just getting attacked by bugs right off the get-go. That's okay. We got plenty from other sources, so I'm not sure what's going to happen with that cabbage. We're going to keep it going for now. Then we come over and you can see the celery is amazing. With another rosemary plant right here in the middle. The stalks are starting to get a little bit bigger. I was hoping they'd be bigger than this by now, because in a couple weeks we're going to be making tomato soup, and this is one of the ingredients for it. Then we have, this is the last bit of the kale. Most of it we've already harvested and fed to the chickens, what we didn't eat. And this one we're just picking off the bottoms and slowly eating it as it keeps on producing. We had some with our hamburgers today. This pepper didn't do so well here, and once again I think it has to do with the shade. It was way shaded. Same with this broccoli. You can see the little head that it's forming. It's probably going to go to seed. I'm just going to probably pick this soon and feed it right directly to the chickens. Then we have another rosemary right there, and I come over to this tomato plant, which has been really awesome. That's the tomatoes on there. Put my hand in here to give you perspective. These are early girls, so they generally don't get that big, but these ones are ginormous on this plant. So it's been well fed, obviously. I did plant back some peas, but either they got eaten as they first popped up or something else happened. Right here are these fall peas that I planted with a surprise squash that popped up. Don't think that one's going to go too far. And I planted some beans here, but my daughter has been coming in and dug a lot of the soil out. So I think that's what happened to those beans. This pepper plant, my wife comes out and strips fairly often, and we're getting a lot of jalapenos from it. A lot more than we actually eat. We don't eat that many jalapenos, but my wife did make some awesome jalapeno jelly that we plan on using in other recipes. I'm going to come back around this side and show the tomatoes back here. Looks like we got one right there that will be ready in the next couple of days, and just a whole bunch of these ones, and these ones are pretty big too, really big. There's a sucker. I'm going to pop that off, even though we're close to the end of the season. It just will help the tomatoes that are there to continue to grow. and ripen up. I think that's what's really helped these tomatoes grow a lot larger this year compared to years past, is I was pretty diligent at the beginning of the year at picking off the suckers. There's some more. As time got on, it gets harder to maintain because you can't quite see them all. So we have a few that ran and went crazy. But other than that, these are these beans. That one actually has a bean that's could be picked and eaten. Too bad there weren't more to go with it. We could have some fresh beans. I'm not too concerned about not getting beans, because the main reason why I like to plant the beans is for their nitrogen fixing characteristics. We have family that plants a large amount of beans every year, so though we didn't get that many out of our garden, we still have 2 cases of beans that we were able to bottle from other sources. So I'll come on this side. See, that cabbage looks like it's developing a head. I don't know how big it's gonna get. And this one is too, before it gets too cold and stuff stops growing. We're already starting to see some of the plants dying off, but we'll see. If nothing else, I'll go to the chickens, and the chickens will love it. So we're gonna pop over and we'll go see the corn and the potatoes, and we'll call this an update. Oh, another really quick thing is this raspberry plant. Its inner leaves are really starting to die back. So here in a couple of weeks, we're gonna go through and trim off, that's a dried cane, but trim the canes back. And I was talking to my wife, and I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna split this one out from this planter to move some to somewhere else, because there's a lot in such a small area, and we think that it's fighting for nutrients, and that's why we didn't get as many raspberries this year. Though last year it did phenomenal. I really appreciate how well they do in the containers. I just think that it's overgrown that container. So the last couple of days we've had rain after rain after rain just coming in, and it's knocking over this corn, but that's okay. We're just wetting the cobs now, cure out on here, just as we expected from the earwig issue we had. Speaking of which, there's some earwigs inside of this corn. I'm afraid they're eating it all out. They ate off the silks, so we didn't have that many seed out that well from what we've taken for samples. But these, since they're the milk corn, we want them to dry out and finish curing out on the stalks. And then whatever's left of seeds, we're just going to keep to propagate next year. We're not expecting to get any right now that we can mill from, though we did get some, as you can start to see right in there. And then next year I'm going to do something to keep the earwigs at bay. One of the things that I'm thinking about doing is putting some earwig traps, like I've shown in other videos, right down at the bases to catch them before they get up, and then go and feed them to my chickens. I mean, the soil that they're growing in is phenomenal. You're not really going to have an issue of not having enough nutrients in this soil. Got a little worm right there. But it was just bug devastation eating all the silks. But this, I'm going to cut it all down once it all dries out and then throw it in the compost bin. I'm happy with how it turned out for my first time doing it, but I know it could have been a lot better had I done more to mitigate the bugs. Now we're going to go over the potatoes. The interesting thing is the potatoes have actually shot up really large in the last couple weeks due to all the rain. It went from thought they were going to die out to, hey, we're going to grow taller. We've even turned water off of these. Grasshopper. But we even turned the water off of these just to help them start dying back. But with all the rain and right where they are below the drip of the house, a lot of the rain comes in, and it's just helping them grow. And then all of a sudden this sunflower that I transplanted in popped up the last couple weeks as well. I don't know if we're going to get anything on it. We'll have to see. But we'll just keep on letting it go, and if it doesn't produce anything, we'll end up throwing it in the compost bin, and it will feed the plants next year. But that reminds me, I forgot to show how my son's little garden was going, so we'll jump back over there. This is the chickens. One quick thing before I go to my son's garden. I caught a grasshopper. Watch how crazy they go. Well, that wasn't as good as some fights. Sometimes they will fight each other over it. That's why they call them tiny dinosaurs. It's enjoying its grasshopper. We fed them quite a bit this summer. So that's my son's mammoth sunflower, and it is starting to go to seed now. I've come in here and noticed that these parts are starting to fall off, and that's how you know that the seeds are actually mature, is all these pieces will fall off. It's having a hard time holding the weight because of the seeds, but overall it did extremely well this year. My son wanted to plant some more stuff, but for some reason he doesn't want to actually transplant them out of the pots. So I say, okay, you roll with it, it's your garden, and you have to do the learning. So he just left those peas in this pot, and he really wanted to plant pumpkins, even though I told him it was too late for him. So here's some pumpkins that he planted that he also just left in the pot. They'll most likely end up back in the compost, but this is just a fun garden for him. He doesn't want us to cut his broccoli out. He tells us no, so it's going to seed. Maybe we'll have a bunch of seeded broccoli. And his beans, they didn't do so well, but you can clearly tell they are in the shade. They're shaded by this barrel right here. I might have to move that. I'm actually, you know what, I will. I'm gonna move it to that corner over there. That'll be a great spot for it. That'll allow some more shade for it. This is just a barrel that we fill full of water to water our plants with in this space. I do have some drippers in it, but there's still some stuff that doesn't. Kids also enjoy coming out and being in the garden and help watering, so it's fun for them as well. The other thing that it does is it provides warm water for my transplants when we first put them in, and helps the roots to want to grow. That's a key detail for doing transplants. So I'm about ready to take his flowers out, but he tells me no, because these flowers are pretty much gone. But I'm impressed of how long he can keep these things alive. And these are really fun for kids. These are pansies and a geranium. They are very durable. We've had chickens dig these out in some of the smaller gardens that he's had, and then come back and survive. And they also survived him forgetting to water and lots of other issues, but they tend to do really well, and he likes to pick the flowers off and put them in my ears and put them in my wife's ears. So that's the update on these gardens. So that's the update on the square foot garden and my corn and my potatoes. Thank you guys for coming and watching, and I appreciate all those who consistently watch. It makes me feel like somebody's actually listening to me, though I tend to ramble even if people aren't listening. Thank you for watching, and if you find it interesting what I'm doing, please like, subscribe, and share with others, and that will help me produce more content. Comment, ask things that you might want to see, put questions down in the comments. I love sharing the knowledge about what I'm doing, and it would be awesome to share it with all of you. So thanks again for watching.